The 21st century classroom is no longer confined to paintbrushes and paper. Digital tools like animation software, virtual reality, and online collaboration platforms are reshaping how art is being taught and learned. Teachers are not just teaching art techniques, but also fostering digital literacy and creative problem solving. Let's be real, if you can't tell a phishing email from a real one, or if you're falling rather for fake news online, it can have serious consequences. That is why digital literacy is not just important as reading and writing today, but let's face it, what is digital literacy? It's more than just knowing how to use smartphone or post on Instagram. It's about being able to find, evaluate, or create and communicate information using digital technologies. Now, in today's world, digital skills are not a luxury. They are a necessity. Whether you're job hunting, learning online, or running business, digital literacy is your passport. Digital literacy is something that has serious consequences if you do not know it. So you really have to understand what digital literacy is. Now, digital literacy is part and parcel of our day. Digital literacy is part of a bigger picture, 21st century skills. These include creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and communication. Add in things like adaptability, leadership, and media literacy, and you've got the full toolkit. Good morning, welcome to Just Africa. I am Olumide Sokoya. Of course, I'm not the only one here. I have my handsome Oyinpreye Krumale.
Good morning to you, Olumide.
How are you doing?
I am so glad it's Friday.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
I'm glad it's Friday, and maybe you can sleep a little bit longer than wake up, not as early as we used to do during the week.
Ignore the alarm when it goes.
Exactly. Ignore the alarm 1,000 times. I have like 1,000 alarms so that I can punch them down. So digital literacy, like we talked about, today, these days, in fact, including the teachers. So there's this conversation, who amongst the teachers, is it the teachers or the students that are more vast, more skilled, more adept, and more conversant with the digital tools that are available globally?
Yes.
Either for impacting knowledge or for making work easier. And the conversation has been out there. So it's been back and forth. The teachers need to access the kind of tools that will facilitate impacting knowledge. The students on their own part will not only need to access tools or to understand the tools that they are being used to, communicate or teach, like art, drawing,
yes,
and all of that, but they themselves, they need to equally access tools that will make their jobs easier. Carrying out assignments, digital tools, softwares, and then the names are, we have myriad, a multitude of names. If you look at South Africa, you have the Cape Town University in South Africa that is engaged in arts and digital courses. Here in Nigeria, Yaba College of Technology, University of Lagos, and not only teaching courses in that line, but are equally using some of these softwares to facilitate teaching in classroom. Lagos, the University of Lagos is one of the institutions that during the COVID-19 period really incorporated, communicating and teaching students using the Google Meet and using Zoom links.
Yes.
And they're using Google Forms to give out to give to students in order for them to facilitate attendance, to fill forms, and so many other activities. Kenya is not left out of the equation, as the Brook House Institute of Learning in Kenya is also using that tools, and so much other schools in those places. So we are getting there, but we are not there yet.
Yes.
Though we see these on the larger scale in some select universities, but we need to come down to the high schools, called secondary schools, and also primary schools. Even though sometimes the adopting and adapting these technical skills or these technology, makes school fees, to soar. However, in this age, it's not a plan B. It's not negotiable. It must be used, because if you don't use it, you'll be left behind. And I don't think students or parents will want to register their words in such schools that will not adopt digital literacy. If you look at it very well in the country, including the judiciary in Nigeria, there is an arrangement for them. Vividly, there was a time the United States were going to return some of the stolen money back into the country, and they were giving conditions on why and how that money would be disbursed, and a percentage of it, a larger percentage of it was, put aside to digitally tool our legislative arm of government, not the legislature, I beg your pardon, the judiciary, so that we could bring them up to speed and bring it to the next phase. So I'm not surprised, and if this is tailored in the line of education, I think we're in the right direction.
Thank you very much. I think we're also in the right direction, but I'm also looking at, if you look at accessibility to digital learning, really and truly, how many of these students have access to these digital tools, especially in schools nowadays? I remember most of the digital learning or platforms that I use, I learned it outside the school area. For instance, CorelDRAW. When I started using CorelDRAW, I had left school. I learned it on my own, and that's because I had the drive, I had the passion. I just wanted to learn it. I used to draw, so I wanted, how can I use the computer to draw? How can I, create images with the computer? So I had to learn it on my own. But imagine if we've been taught in schools. Now, there's that gap, because if you go to our public schools, that's another conversation. And not just even public schools, even the
private
local
schools,
police station, how many of them have
computers?
We were talking about JAM yesterday, but if you look at what happened in JAM, part of it was digital literacy. It was lack of digital literacy, because we had a student who said, she answered a particular question, she thought that was it, and she pressed OK and submitted. She didn't know it was just
a particular question, and that amounted to the failure.
So a lot of people were not, conversant. Even our guest said it, as most people are not conversant with how to use these computers and these softwares and all that. So I'm looking at how the government can bridge in that gap. Yes, the government cannot provide this for private schools, but for the public schools, the government schools, how can we bridge this gap? Because in some areas, they don't even know what a computer is. They don't even. But these days, parents who have the luxury of funds send their children to, big schools, expensive schools, where they are taught coding, where they are taught how to use different softwares. If you look at the common secondary school student today and ask, can you use Microsoft Word or any of Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint? What would the answer be? If you pick 10 students from private university and 10 students from government schools, what would you get? So how can we bridge that gap? And it boils down on affordability. How can the government make it accessible? I've interviewed so many people who came out with great plans. They approached the government that, okay, look, I can provide certain amounts of computers to school, and we can have an agreement or a concession whereby you pay for a certain amount of years. But because of the bureaucracy and all that, it didn't come into fruition. I've met different people who I've met a man who said he wanted in 10 years' time that every student in Nigeria would have access to a computer.
Okay, so I remember vividly when I was in the university, the former governor of Osun State, Ralph Aregbesola, brought up an education policy whereby students in secondary school will have access to tabs. And these tabs will have depending on the ones that were deployed to GSS1, GSS2, GSS3, SS1, SS2, SS3, and all their courses that they had to study for that specific point in time, were already uploaded into those tabs. So they go to school, they pick it up, and they already have foreknowledge of the topic to be read, to study, because the teacher will be coming to class. So they already did. I think it was called Okmoimo during those periods. So I can't really remember the translation of that name from Yoruba to English, Okmoimo. So it was not sustained. He received the bashing of his administration when he brought out that initiative, but I think it was a good one. However, it should be sustainable, but it was not sustained. If we take care of it at the root of our education system, both the private sector and the public sector will be recruiting these people. So from their secondary school or from primary schools, they will already have this digital knowledge, and there are lots of it that we are to.
All right. Thank you very much for that. So we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll dive into the program proper. Stay with us. Our topic for today is digital literacy and 21st century skill development. And we'll be looking at the impact of digital tools in arts education and how teachers are adapting to these new digital skills in classrooms. We have a special guest live in our studio today. He is a veteran journalist and a public finance analyst. Mr. Kehinde Adeaga joins us live today in Just Africa. It's a pleasure to have you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so we're looking at digital literacy. So in your own words, to a layman, take us through what is digital literacy and of what importance it is to our society today.
Well, digital literacy, like it implies, is intending to get people to know. It's like saying you have something that is not known to others before then. Now you are bringing an instrument, or you are bringing a device that can get the person or the people to know what all this thing is all about. And so when you are deploying it, you need to know what is the level of those you are deploying this software, instruments, or whatever to. I think where we are getting it wrong in Africa is we mobile up everything to say, oh, digital literacy is for everybody. It is for everybody, but there are segments, there are categories, and there are levels. So if you look at the levels, you need to know how would these levels be able to get to know or accept and have a full knowledge of what the intention is all about. And that is why developed countries are better off us. They started it from cradle. We want to start it from primary school. And the primary school you want to deploy it to, they don't have the software, they don't have the materials. For instance, you want to deploy a computer. Let's take instance, the recent JAM issue. You deploy a computer. How many of those students have seen a computer or have used or have worked on computer? Yes, they may have, maybe their phone. Phone is not the same thing as computer. Yes, it may have the same, what do you call it now? The same workbox or whatever.
Okay.
But it's not as the same as when you are typing. There are things that you need to do in computer that you can't quickly do on a phone.
Yes.
And there are things you can do faster on your phone than the computer. So this is the reason why you see so many young ones. They fiddle with their phone more than the computer. And you need to let them know the essence or the difference between the two. It's the same thing, the same function they are performing. But when you want to deploy it for a purpose, they are two different things. The JAM thing that we talk about, you cannot use your phone to quickly get into whatever thing, the questions and what have you.
Yes.
The computer, you can see it very bold. And then you can quickly respond. But in your phone, it's tiny. And so getting to respond, the response time is, slower than the computer timing. So all this we need to look at before we can say we are deploying this software to anybody. I may not be an IT person. You may be an IT person. The way you will take it, the way you'll be taught, should be different from the way I will be taught. So what you see is that people don't know what they are doing. They just go into it. Not because they don't know, but because they just want to. And so we here in Africa, or let's say Nigeria, let me be particular about Nigeria. We want to say we know, even when we don't know. So there's a need for the deployment of knowledge, impacting knowledge into those who want to use those instruments. Otherwise, we won't get anywhere. Developed countries, they would have been teaching their kids how to use all these things. And as they grow, they learn more, new things. And they on their own can even produce that item, that instrument they are using. But here, I doubt if you can see any Nigerian who would say, I can produce a laptop or a phone, a manufacturer. You get it. Not because we don't have the knowledge.
Yes.
We do have the knowledge. But the starting point is what we don't have. And I think it's high time we start to know. Even government itself need to learn certain things. You don't just jump into things because people are doing it, or because you know people said this is working for other client or other environment, and you want to go into it. No, you need to study it. That's the reason why they say understudy people, so that you can learn, so that you can know, and you can better off the person who taught you.
Yes.
Okay. So these are some of the things.
Yes. So, Mr. Kehinde, do you think our education system needs a policy drive to overhaul it? The reason why I'm asking that question is because until COVID came, the way we transformed in both our educational industry and the work life of Nigerians, the transformation became very, very vivid and broad. During that time, University of Lagos really brought in the digital platform to teach and lecture students, even without them coming to class because of the peculiarity of the disease. Now, not every university have that kind of facility. So, but do you think if the government can use policy to inculcate it right from the secondary school or from primary school, will we get it right? Or what are some of the implications you think that might be a drawback?
You are right with that. Government need to start from somewhere. And where they start from is policy. That policy is very key. And that's why in most cases they say one single government policy can make or mar that industry or sector. So having known that, the government need to encourage. And you see, in everything, once you can encourage people, they will adapt. But in a situation where you want to encourage, you are holding the stick on the left hand, you are holding the carrot on the right hand. Yeah. You are making such person who wants to learn to be fearful.
Oh, okay.
Because he's looking at the stick, he's looking at the carrot. Which one does he take? Or which one will he take? He wants to take the carrot, but he's afraid of the stick. And so learning becomes extremely difficult because our environment is not a learning encouragement environment. So we need to first and foremost get the environment to be conducive. You see some classes, some schools, their classes are not conducive for learning. Let us not deceive ourselves. During the COVID, like you said, it opened us up to know that these things that we are doing physically, we can do it via the phone. We can do it without one presence. And that is why the digitalization in Nigeria need to move fast. Otherwise, we'll just be going behind those who brought this digital technology learning or digital instrument for us to take into. Because if we have it now, let's take it. Let's look at all the schools. If you talk about computer, they will say, yeah, we know everything about it. If you talk about phone, of course, a primary school student, the phone he's using, even a worker may not use it. But is it deploying everything about that phone? Is it making use of everything that is in that phone to the benefit that he deserves? No, they are using it for a different thing completely. How can you imagine a kid playing on phone, of a phone of maybe a 500,000 worth of a phone, and all he's doing with it is just to play games? It's wasting and causing, what do you call it now, the benefit to that person. For instance, let me give an instance. When I first bought my car, the first thing that came to my mind was, how do I make this car to bring back the money I've reduced in buying it?
Okay.
And the next thing was, anywhere I go, if it's going to generate money, I know I'm benefiting. If it's not going to generate money, it means I'm spending, I'm incurring bills on it. Is that what I want? No. So what I want is something that will bring back what I've expended. And that is the reason why the phone ought to bring back. Today you see some people, of course, some of our people use it for negative purposes, which is not. Some in developed countries, some of them use it for benefits. Somebody will, okay, like the games. I had one time that if you play a game on the system on your phone, you get some money. And I've been trying to know what it is. By the time I knew, I saw it like, oh, it's a bad thing, and I'm not into that. I don't take to that. I don't like it, so I don't preach it. But it's benefiting some people. Some people are using it to benefit their life. And this is what we are saying. If there's anything you can use to benefit your life, benefit your economy, benefit your environment, it's better than you deploying such thing to the detriment of others or to the detriment of your economy. Because as we speak right now, we have AI. We call it
artificial intelligence.
Yes. Now, people see it like a real thing. In Nigeria, we see it like a real thing, whereas it is just telling us that this thing can do the function or can perform the function of a real person.
Yes.
Do we take it that way? We are not. So what we are doing is, because it has been deployed, artificial intelligence, and then somebody come and use it to defraud. That's not the purpose. The purpose is for you to know that this thing can do the function of a real being. And when you look at a real being, what is a real being doing? Something that can be physical, something that can be legitimate. But we transform that into a defrauding thing. Something that you can use to defraud, something that you can use to take advantage of others in the negative way, which is not good. Artificial intelligence is good. In fact, all the manufacturers or the producer or whatever abroad, they will tell you why they did this. And they will give instances. They will, okay, look at Google. If you are going, they say, if you want to go to a place, go on your Google. Some people have gone to the extent of saying, that's negatively. They say, Google, tell me what is happening there. Must Google tell you what is happening in the secret place of somebody? It's not. But that is the mentality we have.
Okay.
Wanting to say, because this thing is for this purpose, you now transform it into another thing entirely. We are here in the studio now. Somebody will be there and say, Google, tell me what is happening in that studio. It's not supposed to be.
Okay, so let me sorry to butt in again here. Now, let me take you back to the classroom. Education. Some of these apps, some of this software that enables students to learn even what is not in their curriculum, make them very, very equipped for the marketplace. But it's completely out of the curriculum in their schools. They go to Coursera to learn digital skills. They go to Udemy to learn digital skills. Corel Draw, you can use that to draw. They don't teach them in primary, in secondary schools. Neither is it taught in the university. PowerPoint, they are taught by themselves. They can learn PowerPoint. Lightroom, which is used to edit pictures. And because they have learned this, or because of the availability of all these tools, the school curriculum, which they are used to teaching the student, did not really prepare the student for the marketplace. But because they go through all these instruments, digital skills, knowingly or unknowingly, they've prepared themselves for the marketplace, and it has made them even more competitive and even to earn and to make themselves, independent.
Yes.
This is working in the advantage, though we've not started looking at the disadvantage.
Yeah.
How can we harness this to make them even more relevant in the marketplace?
That's why we say policy. Educational wise, look at, let's take it. I go back to JAM. This new system that was deployed was just a recent thing to say all students will work with the computer to respond to their question and what have you.
But it was brought about since 2010.
2013.
It's a more recent thing. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
In the past, it wasn't like that. It means that the government saw the need. Or, let's say somebody who is in charge saw the need for that thing to be in place and introduced it to the government accepted and adopted it. But what they failed to do is to say, let's look at the benefit, the advantage and the disadvantages. How do we work on it so that, like the problem they had now, that problem is something that ordinarily shouldn't come up at all. Because, one, you must think of the power supply. It's not something that must be fluctuating. Because somebody is responding to a question and then there is network problem. It goes off. And the way they have structured it is such that if you are on this item now, you are responding on this item, and there is a fluctuation, it doesn't concern the system. They have programmed it in that manner that it goes to the
back
next.
to the beginning. Or it goes to the next.
Yes, it goes to the next. And by the time it goes to the next,
and you can't go back.
You can't go back. So we are not looking at those things. Like I was telling somebody that the JAM people have said, yes, they are sorry, they have accepted the guilt. And they said they are going to, some students will rewrite. How do you know those who will rewrite? The location and what time.
Yeah, the centers that experience the guilt.
Good. The centers, fine.
Yes.
What is the communication period? Remember, some of the students come from a distance. Some maybe from Ogun State came to Lagos. He may be residing in Ogun State. But as at the time he was going to write exam, he's writing it in Lagos. Now, how do you get the person to prepare? The short time they have given, they said between 16th and 19th. You will still discover that there will be issues because people will still complain to say we were not informed early enough, or we didn't get the information, or we didn't know anything. So the area that the government needs to look into is any system, any policy you are bringing in, look at the advantage and disadvantage. Mitigate against the disadvantage. And that is why you see most cases or most times Nigeria take advantage of the loopholes. Like you rightly said, that some students develop themselves.
Yes.
In developing themselves, they want to price themselves high. But what they also didn't know is if you must price yourself high, are you competitive with others? If you are not, then why you would eventually discover that you price yourself out.
Okay, so let me come in here again. During my time, and probably maybe your time, we were taught with chalks and blackboards.
Yes.
These days, students or schools that are well-to-do have digital whiteboards, and they use stylus to write on the boards.
Exactly.
And not all students or not all parents can afford that.
Exactly.
Do you think this movement, because we need to be at par with what obtains in other parts of the world, so our students can be competitive at a global level, do you think this will enhance learning, or it will be some form of distraction for students?
No, it will enhance learning. It's advantageous to students, but at a cost. And there's no gain without a cost. So any parent that wants his or her world to be competitive must be willing and ready to provide the means. If you can. Okay. That is the reason why we have tertiary institutions in levels. For instance, if you cannot send your student or your ward to university or polytechnic, he can go into a technical school. It's the same thing. A technical school where he or she will be taught how to do these things practically. And over time, that person will go up. Majority of those who manufacture or produce these softwares, not many of them went to school. Not many of them went to school. They develop this, they learn it from outside the walls of the school. And they gradually
or specialized schools that impact those knowledge.
Exactly. And gradually they develop. Having developed, they on their own now decided, okay, this is where I am going. And it will take me these years or months or whatever period. They are ready to continue the process. But in our own case, our young ones, I'm sorry to say, they are not willing and ready, excuse me, to go through the learning process. The moment you go outside, go and do a survey, you see a child who knows something about the system, about the phone. The next thing is, by next Monday or by next, I have to have a car. How do you get a car? Is it by just what you have just learned or done that you think you can have a car? And if you have a car, are you able to sustain it? They are not thinking about the sustainability. They are thinking of just having it and then move on. By the time they now have it and then start using it, once there is a problem, it's abandoned. And that's why you see all over the places, abandoned project, abandon this, abandon that. Because we do not accept that everything is gradual, everything is systematic in the process where you have to go through. You are here now. If you have somebody who has to learn from you or to understudy you, the next thing if the person is not seeing money out of it, he feels, what am I learning? Whereas what is he or she is learning from you is this future, not immediate. You started somewhere and you know where you are going. The fact that you have not gotten to that place now does not mean you won't get there.
Okay, Mr. Kehinde. Okay, I know. Okay, Olumide wants.
All right. So, two things I want to ask. You said that this learning process is in segments.
Yes.
So the first question is, what age range or at what age do you think is ideal enough for a child or a ward to start learning? Secondly, let's look at digital inequality in communities. There are some regions that they don't even have classrooms, not to talk of have access to these computers. Yeah. Do you think the government is doing enough? How can we bridge the gap?
Okay, let me start from this last question. As far as I feel or I think now, government is not doing much in terms of education. Let us just say it. What the government is all about now is transformation. And if you want to transform, you look at areas where you want to transform. Education, if you look at it, is not part of their pattern or their system or a segment or sector that they want to transform. They are looking at financial transformation in sectors. What is happening now will not take us there. It is when somebody is educated that person can assimilate what you want to pass on. If you want to teach me something and I don't know it, it will be difficult for me to accept what you are teaching me. I will see it like nonsense. But if I'm educated, if I'm taught, I will see where you are going and I will know what I want to get out of it. Now, government needs to quickly, as a matter of urgency, look at the educational system. Our educational system is appalling. And we need to work on that, to both the teachers and the students. Because it is when the teachers are well equipped. A teacher whose salary is nothing to write home about. Is that the teacher that you want him to buy a phone that can expose him further? No. Is that the teacher that you expect him to get a laptop that can expose him further? No, he can't. So he will be restricted and limited by his means. And that means that what you want to transfer to the student is archaic. It's not something recent. It's not something new. Yes, the archaic thing that we talk about may be good, but is it bringing the change that we desire? It's not. So government need to look into that. First and foremost, if you look at the budget of the government, education sector is zero. It's not as if there's no budget for it, but as far as what is happening is concerned, we cannot equate it with the budget of security or other sector. They are both important, but the very thing that is very important, mostly important, is education. Even the security we are talking about, the people you want to deploy billions to, how educated are they in handling? You are buying sophisticated weapons. The people you are buying it for, are they educated in handling it? Are they educated in knowing how to deploy it, how to do, where to go and what not to do? They are not. Recently, I attended a workshop, a training program for officers, police officers who will be handling cases of rape and what have you. They were being taught the system, the level at which they go in ensuring that when they talk about rape, you can say, yes, there was a rape. And how do you go by it? Is one level of understanding to the other. Not a case where, why did you dress shabbily? Why did you expose yourself? It has come to the level where now they have to sit down with that person to psychologically know what, put themselves in the position of that person, that they are the one feeling it. So when you put yourself in that position, you'll be able to extract information and you'll be able to know whether there was an established rape or not. So when you are going for your investigation, there's a way you go about it. Unlike the past period where a policeman, the moment you talk, they will say, why are you there? What took you there and that? No. Now it's a case of, how did you get there? What happened? How were you molested and things like it's a system. It's a pattern that when they follow it, they will get the necessary information. Otherwise, it will be nonsense. And that is the reason why we must get educated, whether young or old, big or small, even if you like, let you be Dangote of this world. If you are not educated, the man we talk about now, that is big. If he doesn't have the education, yes, he may not have gone through the four walls of university or polytechnic, but even as he is as an entrepreneur, he's still learning.
Okay.
If he didn't learn, the area he went to now, he won't be able to stand and respond because he's learning. That's why he could say, oh, this is the situation, this is the situation. And people are seeing him like, this man is a genius. It's not that he's a genius, it's because he gave himself to be taught. And that's why government needs to do that. Education in every area is key and important.
All right. So earlier on, before we came on the show, me and my colleague, we were talking about Osun State and how a governor came in and wanted to, distributed tabs in schools and all that, but there was no continuum. Yeah. So yes, now you're saying the government should do, but what about state governors? What can they do? They can contribute their own quota to this and make digital literacy.
You see, again, let me say that we should not put everything on government. There are alumni of institutions. Like my own alumni now, I know that we are doing a whole lot in transforming the school. And we started by providing laptops. We renovated some classrooms to be conducive for learning. We improve on the library. Because these are areas that we expect that if they are okay, it will be better for the student to catch up. It will be better for them to assimilate whatever thing they are being taught. Now, if we have to go in that direction, it will help us. I keep saying that everything should not be laid on government's door. If there are things that we on our own can do to better our lot, to better our environment, let us do it. If we fail to do it, it will affect us. It's not the government. Government is continuum. One government comes and go. And if you are waiting for this government to do this thing and they are not doing it, and you have the will and the enablement to do it and you are not doing it, it will backfire on you, not the government. Yes, the government would have been seen as not being responsible to the people. But what step do we as individuals do? What step did we take? So to come to that question, what that means is that state government must also be willing to partner with individual corporate organizations. There are so many corporate organizations and individuals who want to assist But when they go to the government, from cases that we have had, they will say, bring the money. And nobody wants to drop the money because they know that the essence of that thing will be defeated. They are not going to do it. So they want on their own to be able to be part of it. And so government should have a listening ear. If anybody comes to say, we want to partner with you, accept that partnership. But there should be an understanding around it. All right, you want to partner with us, this is how much you are bringing, this is where we are going to deploy it, and then there will be a monitoring. You should not be exempted, or you should not be kept aside from knowing what you have partnered with. If you are contributing any amount, you have the right to know how that money is spent. And that will help us. So, as it were now, government need to encourage more people to be able to do a whole lot about all these things. Otherwise, we will just discover that we have ideas, but they are not well thought out and they cannot be implemented. It is when an idea is well thought of that you can well implement it. Otherwise, it will just be an idea that will just go down like that. So I think that's what we should do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kehinde Adeaga, for your line of thoughts. It's been so much pleasure having you on this program.
Thank you very much.
All right, so this is where we would wrap up today's edition of Just Africa. So we'll take a short video as we're wrapping up. It's the uniqueness of Africa. We're doing a report on Chad. Until next time, I am Olumide Sokoya.
And I'm Oyinpreye Krumale, and thanks for watching.